Hey everyone, welcome to the Know Your Gear bonus podcast. This is a podcast that was specifically requested by the patrons and the channel members. They asked if Mrs. McKnight would come on and do a QA, get to ask her some questions, see behind the scenes kind of thing. So I want to welcome Shauna onto the podcast.
Hello.
And I'm going to read the questions. She's going to do the answering. And this should be interesting. The first question comes from John, who asks, what is your favorite guitar and do you play music?
So, I do not actually play music. I can play some notes, just enough. And then my favorite guitar is the Framus Television. It's this beautiful matte blue. It looks like water, and I absolutely love it.
It's for you guys, so you know, it's basically a semi-hollow guitar that's handmade in Germany. I do have a video of it, kinda. Believe it or not, I had two of them, and the one that I did the video of now, Ralph owns, and then I have the other one, which they looked identical. So if you see the video with it in there, it looks like the one I have now. It's the one I get asked the most when it's in the backgrounds, in the videos.
Yeah.
Somebody goes, "What is that guitar?" But it is a Masterbuilt Framus, so my instincts usually are I never say anything because it's in the not as expensive as a private stock PRS, but it's
close.
It's close. It's in that crazy territory, and of course, because of our relationship with Framus Warwick, I was able to get one as an artist deal. So that's what it is. That's good. I actually knew that, so you guys know. It didn't shock me her answer. They want to know if you would finally clear the air and answer for the last time, they want to know who my favorite Spice Girl is and what Spice Girl songs do I play on guitar. By the way, this question has 7 hearts. 7 other people. So 8 people want to know this. Go ahead and answer my favorite.
I don't think I've ever actually heard Phil play a Spice Girls song. I've never heard him maybe listen to a Spice Girls song, maybe on a road trip or something like that, but never have I heard him play one. But if I had to guess which member of the band is his favorite, it would probably be Baby Spice or Ginger Spice. That would be my guess. He probably doesn't know which one's which, so.
I don't. And for the record, my favorite Spice is Old Spice because it's a manly scent. Yeah.
And has boats.
It has boats. And it's a good song. That's the song I'd play on guitar, the Old Spice theme song.
I have never heard you play
the
Old Spice.
I might do it. I might learn it now.
Okay.
Daniel wants to know, I would love to hear her take on the length guitar players go to get perfect tones. He says, my wife thinks I'm crazy because I'm like, yes, I need another overdrive because this one does that.
So, what's my opinion on the lengths that people take to get the perfect tone? Well, I've seen people make themselves crazy to get the perfect tone. And I've seen people go from doing something that they love and then it just becomes something that is a headache or something that doesn't bring them joy. So, I figure if you get a pedal that makes you happy, then great. But if it's making you nuts, I think you should stop.
Yeah, I concur with that. I think once you're not having fun anymore, then you've kind of crossed that line. But until then, please get that next pedal that does that. One Arm Left says, so where are you and Phil moving to as Arizona is approaching the surface of the sun? Because it's hot. He means it's hot. I don't know if you guys have heard. Arizona, it's a little warm. So where are we moving to?
Well, I don't think we'll ever actually move away from Arizona 100%. Maybe we'll do like a reverse, like snowbird kind of thing where we leave for the summer and then come right back because we do have pretty amazing winters here and we don't have a whole lot of storms or anything to have to worry about. So I don't think we'll ever actually move 100% out of Arizona. Although July was brutal this year.
It was brutal.
Yeah, I think we broke the highest highs consecutive and our low was the high. So our lows didn't even get, like, We broke records in the low being the high. So just keep that in mind. So our low didn't go below 90 for like 15 days or something like that. So
That's going to be the state mantra. Come to Arizona. We even break our low records.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Chris just wants you to know he doesn't have a question. He just has a huge heartfelt thanks for helping to make the community awesome. As some of the patrons and the members, the YouTube members know, Shauna handles pretty much all of that stuff. So when you get a thank you card sent to you, when you get a care package or a shirt, or if you're getting a question answered, maybe you send it to me and it's not getting to me. She's the one that makes sure all that stuff happens, amongst 10,000 other things that she's up to.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Michael wants to know what you consider my worst musical purchase, guitar, amp, etc., ever.
Okay, so it's when he decides he doesn't want something and then he sells it and then he turns around and buys it again. But he doesn't. That's the thing. That like he buys it over and over again. Like the Fender Blues Junior. I'm pretty sure you've owned 4.
No. 3.
Yes.
Maybe 4.
Yeah, 4.
Maybe 5.
I'm pretty sure.
If you count Ralph's.
Okay, I'm pretty sure you've owned multiples of that. And each time you sell it, you're like, I don't use it. And then you buy it again. And then you don't use it. And then you sell it off again. And then you buy it again. Yeah. That's probably the worst. The Blues Junior. There's probably another amp in there too but I don't really pay attention that closely to it.
I knew that was going to be your answer. I knew it was going to be about amps. That's the spot, the amps. And she's right, because it's dumb.
I say if you think you're gonna have it or buy it again, and just keep it. Just wrap it up and put it somewhere in the house where.
That's what I'm doing right now. I'm actually packing up amps to be stored.
Yeah. Just don't sell them. Just keep them.
The James says, "Did you enjoy owning the music store? ? Why or why not?"
Yeah, I did enjoy owning a music store. I mean, there's always going to be, those things that you don't enjoy about having a business, and but no, I really did enjoy the lessons side of it, scheduling, keeping that kind of going, watching beginners become better, whether that be a kid or an adult, just watching somebody get better at it, where they need to, upgrade or go move on to better stuff. And why I didn't like it, some people can be very unforgiving, even if it's not your fault. So that was kind of a tough thing for me at times, was just having to take care of things that weren't like really my area, or things that I wasn't really responsible for, but because I'm the owner, I'm taking care of it. So
yeah, those are always tough. What's the most difficult part of being married to a gear addict? Is this question toward me? About Shauna? No, it's for you, towards me.
Well, I kind of knew you were into gear before we started even dating. So, I mean, I kind of knew what I was getting myself into. So nothing, actually owning the music store made me understand him a little bit better, because he wasn't alone. There's so many of you out there. So that kind of made me like understand him even to a better level than I did before. So Phil's always been into music, and he's never really veered from music things. He used to save his lunch money to buy guitar magazines, or the next CD, or the next, and then tape first and then CDs. Like, music has always been his thing. So he doesn't have any other hobbies though. So it's always been music related, gear related. So I have friends that their husbands are into multiple things, like motorcycles or camping gear and stuff like that. And Phil's never really veered from music. So it's always been that. And he doesn't really spend money on anything other than that. Okay, what's the second part?
Oh, the second part is his wife asks, what's the worst bargain you've made so your husband could get gear?
We don't really bargain.
No, that's definitely a married thing, though. I mean, married people do bargain, like tit for tat. Right? You can get a new thing if I get a new thing, or I'll do this if you let me do that or have that.
Yeah.
The disconnect here is, let's just take the last 20 years, because 20 years is a long time, 2 decades. In the last 2 decades, and actually longer than that, this is how I've made my money.
Yeah.
One thing I know it's tough is, this is a great analogy. I was given to me basically by a friend. Imagine if you're like a dentist or a plumber, general contractor, or I'm trying to think of, or a police officer. How about a police officer? That's a good one. You're a police officer. That's your day job. That's what you do for a living. And then your hobby is you collect police officer badges, police hats, police things. So this is where it gets tough. My business and my hobbies are
Aligned.
And this is where it gets confusing. Like I said, this is where it's confusing for even our friends, close friends, to understand this. They get really confused by this. I'll buy a guitar literally for a work purpose, or I'll buy some tools for work purposes, or I'll buy something and it's an actual business expense for work, whether it's for repair, or it's for the guitar company, or it was for the store, or it was for, right, something else. And then of course, because I'm into it, I get to partake in some of the joy of that and use it and do stuff with it. And then I'll buy something for myself personally that has nothing to do with work. That happens too. But people that know us, and again, especially, I imagine you guys are asking these questions, but I'm talking about our close friends have trouble with this. They'll go, wow, he's bought 7 guitars. And then Sean will go, actually, he bought 1. The other are all work-related things that he's doing. And so, and that's come up, right?
Yeah, it has come up. The business wouldn't be here without the fact that he's into music. So, and then when we started looking into, because I wanted to be entrepreneurial, and so did he. And we were like, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then when he said he wanted to open a music store, or first, it was the
we had
bases,
the bass company.
I was like, okay, I can help you with that. It's not my thing, but I didn't really like, no, that's your thing, and I don't really want to do that. So, yeah, but we don't really bargain that way.
Yeah. The next one is from Martin, who says, does she ever tell you you have too much gear?
No, he usually tells me he has too much gear.
Yeah, because I have too much gear.
Yeah.
Because of that, what I just said. I guess a good way to think about this is, because we're sitting in my office right now, and in my office there's a corner shelf with some amps on it. And on this shelf, I'm looking at amps, and I can tell you right now, 3 of the amps I'm looking at are absolutely 100% for work. I would not own them. I like them. I mean, that's not the question, but they are literally for work. And I'm looking at 3 other amps that are absolutely mine.
Yes.
That I have no purpose work side to own them. So, like, again, this is where it confuses people. They go, oh, that's 6 amps, right? Like, I've collected up 6 amps, but again, it's a little bit of a cross-contamination kind of thing of, I need these for what I do, and then these things I want.
So I will say this. Over the years, I've noticed Phil will take something that he absolutely loves and enjoys playing, and he will sell that off to make room for something that is more on the business side, because we do have a space issue. I will say that. We don't have, a bunch of space to dedicate to everything. So sometimes he will sell off something that he really enjoys or really loves, like the Blues Junior, because he's not playing it at the moment and it is taking up space. So he will sell it off, and then he will miss it, and then he will buy it again.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Stan Max says, thanks for all you do behind the scenes. He means you.
Yeah, thanks.
My question is, do you have any hobbies to offset your husband's purchases? He says, for my wife, she is a quilter and it's funny because I think quilter amp. She has a quilter amp. That's cool because a quilter is our brand of guitar amps. Anyways, she's a quilter and she has stacks of fabric and a number of sewing machines. So we have our own thing, and where we tell ourselves just one more. and I find that helps keep the peace. So he wants to know, the heart of the question is, do you have any hobbies that offset my
I have
purchases?
hobbies, but not with the passion that Phil has. I like doing crafts. Um, I like making things. I like painting. I like photography, but nothing like music and how it's always been music. Like I don't have anything like that. Like it hasn't always been photography. It hasn't always been painting. It hasn't always been crafting or, you know, so, but I do enjoy painting and I do enjoy, um, probably photography. And I have a couple of lenses that kind of cross over now into like Phil's. So like I have some cameras and stuff like that that have crossed over. I don't use them as much anymore because we kind of use them for the YouTube and the business side more. So, but I was just like a hobbyist on that.
Yeah. The one funny thing about that is I had a friend say once that that I'm like Adam Sandler, and then that I employ all my friends, um, and I love that joke because I think it's accurate. And one of the things that's funny, and just to credit her on her hobbies, everything she ends up picking up as a hobby or doing, I hijack it somehow
Yes, he does.
and get her to do it for me. So if she's like she's taking photos and she's doing photography, I'm like, okay, I want you to take photos of gear for this, or I want you to take photos of this, or press shots, or this. Oh, you're doing art. I want you to do art now for this. In fact, she does have a lot of equipment and for like artistic stuff. Printers and burners and I don't know all this stuff, laser cutting and all this stuff. But if you go there, it's actually hilarious because although she'll show you, if her friends come over, she'll show you all this, this beautiful card she made her mom, or this beautiful mug she made her friend, or cup, or this other stuff, or this beautiful painting. But it's literally sitting in piles of Know Your Gear swag stuff that I've had her create, or Badlands stuff, or Blackstock stuff, or whatever shenanigan that I was doing. McKnight Guitar Company, right? All the other stuff throughout the years.
Yes.
I thought I should have
You
explained that.
rat yourself out on that one.
Yeah. Derek says, since learning about Last Day, have you implemented it?
Okay, now I'm rolling my eyes because last day just drives me absolutely bonkers. If there is a hole in your sock, you should just take it off and throw it away. Yeah.
Now,
So
since I told everybody on the podcast about Last Day, where when you find a hole in your sock, you wear it one last day before you throw it away at the end of the day because it's the last day you get to spend with that sock. I have now become more obnoxious about it. And so now, where I probably didn't even say it to her very often, every time it happened like a week or two ago. And we were going to lunch and I went to put on a sock and I go, oh, last day with this sock. She's literally shaking her head and rolling eyes right now.
no, no. I guess you know what it is. I think for me personally is when I was a kid, we had to wear holy things, and now I don't have to. So there, I've come full circle. I used to have to, now I don't have to. Yeah, and I'm not gonna.
So so Matthew wants to know, who is your favorite guitar player?
Oh, it's John Mayer.
Oh, see, that was easy. That came fast.
Yeah. We've seen him twice.
3 times, I thought.
We see
Definitely
him?
twice, maybe 3 times. Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah.
Kevin wants to know, have you ever had to fix ramen noodles for dinner for the sake of a gear purchase?
Okay, so I've had to fix Tom ramen for dinner, but not for the sake of gear purchases. So
Yes, when we were poor,
when we were first starting out, we did not have very good jobs, and we did not
and no resources,
and no backups, no savings, no credit card power, no none of that. So Yeah. So there were, but actually not so much ramen, maybe a little bit of ramen, but lots and lots of noodles
Yeah,
and
chicken
like
noodle soup.
chicken noodle soup and a lot of noodles. We ate a lot of noodles, pastas.
Yeah, because you can buy a big thing of chicken bone broth and then or broth, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
you buy a big thing of like the egg noodles. That
Mm-hmm.
was like nothing. You throw that in there, and then you start with some chicken, and then as we ate it, then the next day we add more broth and more noodles. By the third day eating chicken noodle soup,
It's usually
it's
just
mostly just noodle
noodles.
soup. It's noodle soup, but it had chicken in it at one point.
It
So
did.
it's kind of there. But if anything, so basically, the easy part to understand is this. So when we were broke, we were poor. I didn't buy any gear, none. Didn't buy strings, didn't buy anything, because we were broke.
And I would fight him to not sell his stuff so that we didn't have to. Like I would be as, as creative as I could be so that he didn't have to sell his guitars.
Yeah, and that would be the funny thing. So Kevin, to your point, have we ever had to eat ramen because of a piece of gear? If anything, I would probably be more likely to sell a piece of gear
So we wouldn't have to.
wouldn't have to eat ramen. Um, uh, Again, I love this stuff. This stuff matters a lot to me. But music is first. Like it's just about music. I mean, if I had one guitar tomorrow, I would still be super happy, right?
Right.
I mean,
I think a one guitar, one amplifier, you'd probably be pretty good.
and here is the oddest thing. This is a great question because it actually is an interesting. Hopefully this answer will be interesting to you because she's here and she can confirm it and maybe even explain a little bit more. I have a really huge desire to learn and check out new things, new pickups, new guitars, new things. Like a lot of us, right? You're just curious, what's next? What else? What else? That being said, I don't have to own anything to have that experience. Owning things, especially on the YouTube channel now, is more about that's how I physically get it here to do the content is I buy it. But before, I would just go to music stores and hang out 4 hours.
Yes. When we were broke, that's what he would do more than anything. And there were times where I was just like, no, I'm not going to go because I know you're just going to spend hours, noodling or doing whatever you wanted to do or talking gear or whatever. So, yeah, when we were at our brokest, he would just spend time, I think, in music stores more so than buying things.
Yeah, that's where I would learn.
Yeah.
Go there and ask questions, check out things, try different things, do different things. And so I've never had a huge compulsion so much to own all this stuff. In fact, that's like my music store and a repair business was perfect as well because I'd cycle through the stuff. I'd be able to get my experience of it, check it out, play it, feel it, learn about it. I would love a world if the channel would just have a huge access point to product.
Yes.
And I wouldn't have to spend all this money because I don't really want to own it. In fact, that's what she's talking about all the time. It's here all the time because we'll buy a guitar, I'll do the video, and then I have to now wait until the perfect time to sell it to kind of recoup, right?
Yeah.
So I would.
I'm actually negotiating more deals at this point, and so part of what I'm looking to do is if they will loan us the stuff, and then it goes back because we just don't have. I mean, space is going to be an issue for probably ever for us, as we just don't have the space.
Yeah.
So
this is what's crazy. Most companies don't want to loan you stuff; they want you to keep it.
as part of your payment.
As part of payment, but also they want you to keep it because they'll get future advertising out of it. So,
Right.
Of course, it's like return on investment for them is they're going to keep getting their product in front of an audience. And my problem is I don't like the optics of selling the stuff because it's not really fair to them because I'm not selling it because I don't like it. I'm selling it because I did my thing and I'm done. So I hope that answers. I hope that's was a good answer to that question, especially since we have Shauna here to get more kind of a detailed look at it. Kurt says, my wife likes to hear Philip. Oh, that's crazy. Because he is down to earth, even though she has no interest in gear. So 2 questions. What is the best excuse you ever heard for buying a guitar? Okay, and then the second part of the question is a different question, so we'll just do that.
So
What's the best excuse you ever heard for someone buying a piece of gear?
Well, actually, this is both. When we first had our child, and I heard it a bunch of times in the store. I'm buying this now because I'm never going to be able to buy anything after the baby comes. So, which is baloney, but still, it is one of the best excuses. I need it. I need it now because I'll never be able to buy it again, or this is going to be the last one. No, it's not.
Yeah, I agree. I think the excuses, the best excuse, it's not the best excuse, but it's the one I've heard the most.
It's more consistent.
Is if I buy this, somehow they're done, right?
Yeah.
And I used to do it too, but I never realized how crazy it could get as an excuse until I would watch people in the store, and we would watch somebody come in and trade in like 15 guitars, remember?
Like a ton of stuff.
Yeah, a ton of stuff to get one thing because this one thing is all they need. And then a few months later, they were back in the store buying more stuff and building the collection back up again.
Right.
So yeah, I get that. The other part of the question was, what kind of music is your favorite? What's your favorite kind of music?
So I think it's easier to say what I don't like versus what I do like, because I listen to all kinds of music, old music, newer music. I don't like super repetitive music, so I'm not big into like club music or dance. Yeah, not as like if it's like a repeat, like if I can hear the sample on repeat, it kind of grates on my nerves a little bit. And then I just like a lot of melodies and stuff like that. So like this week, just on a side note, I went and saw, it's called Tall Heights and Ben Folds, and they were great. I'd never heard of them before, but they were like kind of little bit reminded me of like, the Simon Garfunkel kind of like melody, like harmonizing and stuff, and just a little 3-piece band with their harmonies, and I thought it was wonderful. So, and then Ben Fold is always good. So
yeah. Chris says, first question. Shauna, as a graphic artist, please tell us what software apps you use and your creative process when working on a project for KYG.
So I would very loosely call me a graphic artist, but I do use Adobe Illustrator for most of my stuff, and I use Photoshop, and I use it's Cricut. It's a cutting software for like die cast and
die cuts,
and like that's how I get my ideas. Like I work out the ideas for the shirts and stuff with it's a cutting machine, and I can use heat transfer, or I can just use regular vinyl, and then, but to call me a graphic designer, that's I just learned how to do it out of necessity because we just couldn't get we needed to flush out Phil's ideas faster. So, and he was frustrated because it was taking a while, and the people that were helping us had day jobs. So, and after the store closed, I had more time on my hands that I could work on this stuff. And I just got I got the Adobe Illustrator book. I think it was in 2017, and I just started learning how to do it. And I asked Ralph for a little bit of help because he was a graphic design teacher, and he just kept telling me to go back to the book. So
yeah, he's like, just buy a book and learn it, and if you have a question, let me know.
And then and when I had questions, he would go, "What does the book say?"
Yeah, what does the book say?
What does the book say?
That's
a totally Ralph
answer.
Yeah. What did the book say? How did the book say to do it? But what's nice is there's a lot of things on YouTube also that if I'm looking for something very specific, I can go to YouTube, and there's a lot of great people out there that are sharing their knowledge on YouTube. So,
And then he's got a second part of the question. He says, hey, so he said, obviously he's asking what you're using and how you're using graphics and stuff for KYG. He says, but how is it different from personal projects or other clients?
So I don't have any other clients other than like KYG. Well, maybe Badlands now, but
and Blackstock.
But they already have their logos, so I would just be like kind of playing around with those and stuff. But what I do on my own is I paint. I don't really, nothing that I kind of do on my own is like overlays.
Right.
Too much.
And then his other question is, he says, hey, still shopping for electric bikes? If not, what do you recommend? And I'll let her answer the question, but first let me start with, we did buy electric bikes twice. So we bought a set of electric bikes, but they were not to our liking.
They were the wrong kind.
Yeah, they weren't enjoyable. It wasn't, and don't confuse it with we bought cheap and expensive ones are better. Had nothing to do with price, it was type. So we did, however, buy the second bikes. It was a huge expense both times, but we really determined to do this after COVID. And the ones we have now, I think we truly love.
So if you go with an e-bike, just realize that you're going to be riding this bike longer than what you would normally ride a normal bike for, because you're kind of like a kid again, because there's no hill that's too big now. There's no distance that's too far. I mean, you can basically ride until your butt basically doesn't let you ride anymore. If anybody's ridden bikes,
butt pain,
back, shoulder, neck. I mean, as long as your body can handle it, you can ride. So that would be my so we first bought like more of a street style bike, which kind of like put a lot of pressure on our wrists and our hands and put us in a thrown forward position. And when you're riding for long periods of time, it can be hard. It can be hard on, like for me, it's my neck. Being in a forward seated position, looking up was really like not great for my neck. So now we have more of a cruiser style. We got Pedigos, and the nice thing about the Pedigo, if you have that option near you, is you can rent them. So you can take them out and rent them for an hour, and you can ride around. You can kind of see. And I felt like when we went to one of the bike stores, it was always about the battery and how long the battery lasted. And I'm not really like I'm on the throttle and I'm not going really fast.
No,
and stuff.
We use them to assist, we're not using them like little mopeds. We're using them like bicycles that when it's windy or there's, like she said, there's big hills, we like to have the assistance because, like she said, it feels like you're 16 again.
It's like nothing. Like a giant hill coming up. It's nothing.
Nothing. And you pedal the same. You feel like you're just still going on it. Actually, the best way I put it is, this is how I like to put it. If you ever had a stationary bike and you set it on a certain setting,
mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about where you can variate the settings, the intensity and the tension.
Right,
stuff.
it's just like a stationary bike where you just keep it the same speed,
so
same tension the whole time.
Yeah, so you ride downhill, uphill, into the wind, across the dirt, over a curb, whatever you go, everything feels to you the same. So
what I found is I'm not using the battery as much as maybe somebody that's commuting every day or anything like that. So you really have to figure out what you're going to be doing, because for us it was just about getting out and not being in the house anymore and getting some exercise. So at first I was like, we don't really need e-bikes, but then trying them and riding them and realizing that I ride longer, I enjoy myself. And if I get tired at the end, then I just use more of the battery. But it really is a little bit more liberating than I think most people would think so.
And so here's where we messed up. And when I say messed up was we went and talked to bike shops, and they were actually multiple bike shops, and they were all kind of unhelpful because at the time, it might be different now, because even though it was only a few months ago, or close to a year now. But here's my advice, and because this is important if you're thinking about doing it. First, don't worry about the price. They're going to talk about the motors and, like she said, the batteries and how long they go and how fast they go. Again, figure out your needs. But I'm going to tell you, for our needs, the bikes go way faster than we ever would use, ever. I mean, double minimum to triple the speeds that we want to go for the most part, right? But mostly, definitely double. For
Okay,
sure.
if you guys don't ride, 11 miles an hour is fast.
Yeah, 11
11
miles an hour
to
is
12
fine.
miles an hour is fast, and you come up on cars way faster than they think you can.
Right.
So anything above that can get very dangerous.
Yeah, and again, we're talking about novice hobbyist bicyclists. We're not talking about you guys out there, with your cool pointy helmet and your.
No, I'm talking about
yeah,
like
we're talking about
just
beach
riding.
cruise. Yeah. So ours are they're called, the brand is called Pedigo. If you want to look, they're in our opinion, they're very expensive. Although these bikes can get crazy expensive, it's like calling an American Strat expensive and knowing that there's Paul Reed Smith out there and kind of thing. However, what I will tell you, what I learned from this is, if you buy the right type of bike, whether that be a mountain bike because you're outside, in the mountain area, whether that's a road bike, whether that's a cruising bike like what we have, which is basically like a seated up front with a wider seat because we want to ride for 4, 5, 6 hours, and that takes a toll on your ass. I'm sorry, it's just
on everything, actually.
Yeah, on everything, you're right, because your back, because it's, again, so having a shock absorber on the seat and having a cushier ride that's more chill for slower, longer rides. But the most important thing is, instead of focusing on the e-bike and the performance of the e-bike and its range and where the motor's on the center or whether it's in the back tire, all that stuff, what I learned is figure out what type of terrain you're going to use it for, what you're going to use it for, figure out the type of bike you want, and then look at the e-bike version of that bike if that's something you want to do. And definitely, if you can, rent them. Everybody rents e-bikes now, so definitely rent some.
I would totally recommend it. Because we did rent them we did rent the Pedigos before we bought them, and they even took the rental price off the guitar, or off the final price, but and within 30 minutes I knew that was the right bike for us.
Yep.
So
yeah, it was great. So to answer your Chris, and Pedigos in Gilbert, there's a bunch, but we went to the one in Gilbert, and that's where you can rent them too.
If you ever do get to Gilbert and you go to that shop, there's actually really nice trails all around that store, so you can really get a good ride out of it. Yep.
So Jeff's question is, what do you think? And I'm assuming you, because I don't know. He says, what do you think the future of guitar podcaster YouTuber is? So there's a bunch of questions in here. This one, we'll start with this one. The future of podcasting and YouTube, podcaster, YouTuber. What do you think the future is?
I just think there's going to be more of them, more subjects, more. I just think there's going to be a lot more. Yeah,
it's funny. And this is a tough question. He didn't specifically say to you or to me, but so obviously I'm the podcaster / YouTuber. So let me tell you, if it helps, as a podcaster / YouTuber. First, let's talk about podcasting. I think podcasting's got a long way to go. So I don't think that's even close to the jump the shark moment or anything. I think if anything, there needs to be more podcasts. I can tell you, because I do this show as a podcast. What I can tell you is that people consume it at an epic rate. It's not like 3-minute and 10-minute videos on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram. Podcasts people are listening for an hour, 2 hours. We call it usually doing earbud jobs. You're just putting your earbuds in and you're doing a process and you want something to listen to. Driving a car, commuting to and from work, going on trips, right? All kinds of things. We have a viewer who says when their kids are in dance practice for an hour, they want something to listen to for an hour. So they consume it at an epic rate. So even if you have hundreds of episodes with hours, they can burn through them in weeks. And then once they do, here's my point. Let's say I have 600 hours. That's a lot of hours. But let's say somebody's listening to me every day on the way to work and then listening to me through other circumstances, right? Once they catch up to me, Okay, once they caught up to my current episode, I'm only putting it out at 2 hours a week now. So they now need immediately another podcast that they can binge watch, right? It's like the YouTube binge watching, right? It's like once you binge watch your favorite show, it's over. And guess what? Once you binge watch a show on YouTube or on Netflix that you love and it's over, the first thing you want to do is find another show like it or another great show. So they're always looking for new podcasts. So my advice to people, if you want to start a podcast, it's good, and there's a lot of room out there for growth. I watch the podcast just grow every month, every year at an epic rate, way faster than YouTube grows for me. On the YouTuber side, obviously TikTok, Instagram, the short video system is going to, it's already taken over. It's not going to do anything. It's already huge. And you got to think, just like people who watched YouTube 10 years ago who were 15 are now 25. And so they grew up with YouTubers. Now they're still watching YouTube. YouTube is like a TV show to them, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. See, to me, I look at Netflix and those things as like cable, like movies, and I look at YouTube as TV shows. For me personally, when I'm watching YouTube when I'm in the mood for like a show. And I watch Netflix when I'm in the mood for a movie, even if I'm watching shows, because I'll binge watch 2, 3, 4 shows.
Right.
However, here's the important part for the future of YouTube. The number one search thing on YouTube is cats. No, I'm just kidding. It's not cats. Actually, that's number 2. It's how to. And so basically, what do I think the future as a YouTuber is? I think, who knows, because of TikTok and Instagram and all that stuff. But what I can tell you is I try to do TikTok and Instagram, or not TikTok, but Instagram. When I say I try, that's a lie. We repurpose content. We do all kinds of things to try to put some presence out there to see. But what I've learned is that where I've succeeded on YouTube, if you want to call it that, is in the how-to arena. The biggest videos I have are me teaching somebody something. So I don't think that's ever going to die. Even with ChatGPT, and they can ask a question and get a detailed answer, I think people are still going to want to watch a video on how do I fix my air conditioning unit, or how do I...
Well, I think most people are visual learners. So to
Yeah.
have a video on showing you how to do something versus just tell you how to do something, I think most people on this earth learn by watching.
Yeah, of course.
So
I agree. So, I mean, that's what I think the future is. The second part of the question he has is, what do you think, and he's going to direct this to both of us, what do you think the KYG business will be doing in 5 to 10 years?
well, Phil and I have done different things kind of almost every 10 years. We kind of pivot and change things and do new things. So having a set business plan, we don't have one, but I can tell you that we will just pivot and move based on what direction everything is going into. That's kind of where we got here. The store was going to change, and I didn't really want to do those changes. I didn't want to go online, and I wanted to keep, if I was going to keep the store going, I wanted to have face-to-face business. I didn't want to go to the internet. That just wasn't where I wanted to go. That's one of the reasons why we closed it, because I just was not interested. I didn't want to communicate with my customers via email or telephone. I enjoyed the face-to-face part of it. So,
And not only was the market changing, the arena was changing, but obviously because I got some monocle of success on the YouTube platform, that accelerated the hey, if you're going to have a retail guitar business, it better be online.
right.
And
Right, because we knew very shortly, like into it, that it wasn't just our community. It was beyond our community. So it was going to have to be online.
so to answer your question, if KYG was to start dying, which is inevitable at some point, I would probably wind more pickups and do more repairs. Our biggest obstacle with pickups is
Time.
Yeah, when I'm winding pickups, I'm not making content. And when I'm not making content, people are emailing us why we're not making content. And when I'm not making pickups, people are emailing us why we're not making pickups. And so, I mean, I think it's great to have this success, but really, to be honest with you, I would see myself in 10 years. I kind of hope to see I'm in a repair shop fixing guitars and winding pickups for people. When we close the store, this is kind of funny. When we closed the store and I made an announcement on YouTube, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna close. We're closing the store and I'm gonna do YouTube. That wasn't actually entirely true, right? We had planned what we thought the plan was gonna be when I announced that was I was gonna take like 6 months off
Yeah.
and do YouTube, because I was, we've been working 13 years in the store, 6 days a week or more. And it was, this was an opportunity to spend some time with the kids, and Shauna was going to get a job,
Yeah.
and I was going to repair guitars and just kind of make videos on the side. The logic was at that time, so you guys know, was I made enough doing repairs. The problem with repairs, though, is it's so expensive here
To rent a
to
place.
rent a place that the YouTube money would be enough money to subsidize the rent, and I would do repair. And it took a very little time, months, before we realized, oh no, the YouTube thing is just getting too big too fast, and this is what we have to focus on.
Absolutely.
So YouTube is what really stopped me from doing that, what was intended to be, the idea. So I think in 5 to 10 years, either the channel will be doing great and we'll be doing what we're doing this right now,
Right.
Or I'll be fixing guitars and winding pickups.
So the next part of this question, what will we look back on? Is that what the next part of that question is?
He says, yeah, what do you think you're going to look back on and say, remember when we used to do this or that?
So I got a piece of advice, I think was probably one of the best pieces of advice a young parent can get. And that was just stay in the moment, stay present, stay just kind of be grounded. Because my kids are now young adults. And so, I've had friends that have not handled being empty nesters very well. And I've had friends constantly talk about how they miss the old days when they were little or whatever. And I have always tried to stay. I really am enjoying watching them become who they are, how they handle situations, how they're becoming, getting out in the world and doing that kind of stuff. So for me, the business has always been, I've always tried to stay in the moment. Just, if the movie Yes Man, he can't lie, he has to say yes or whatever.
Yeah, you can't say no.
Can't say no or whatever.
Yeah.
There's opportunities that always come up and I'm always like, yes, let's do it, let's try it, let's give it a try. Now it can always not be that way in a couple years or whatever, but if it's a new thing, I'm always like, yes, let's do it, let's try the new thing, let's just stay in the moment, stay grounded to whatever's going on right now. So I try not to look back on anything going, I kind of miss when we used to be able to do that. I have the ability, I think, and I'm trying to enjoy it as much as possible. If I'm not in the mood to do something, I identify that and then I stop working and I do something else. Because I have all day. I can even get up and work during the night. So if I'm just not in the mood dealing with something or doing something, I just stop. So I do enjoy that. And that's probably, if I ever don't have that option, that might be a little bit tough.
Yeah. Jonathan says, thank you to you and your wife for keeping this awesome channel going for all the fans. And I think that's always more directed towards you.
No, I think
me.
it's you too.
I know this is what do you get? It's all cutesy. No, you're the good one. You're, but honestly, the funny thing about this is we know that when you see the band on stage, the crew that did the lighting, the crew that set up the stage, the people taking the tickets, the accountant, right, the truck driver, right, the support system, right, is just as important. And I think that's what happens here too. Is I get to be on the camera, and so they're like, oh, you're making videos, but the support system is huge. So I appreciate you guys thanking her for this, because again, she's the support system in getting this stuff done. So we'll move on to his question though, which is, with the TV writer and actor strike, which is totally going to date this episode at some point, I hope. So it'll be over one day. It says, will we see more YouTubers on TV soon? Marty Schwartz has his own show on Access. Maybe we need a KYG show. So the question he's asking you is, do you think with the writer actor strike, do you see more YouTubers on TV?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm already seeing one of the shows that we've been watching forever, which is The Hot Ones. It's like popping up on everything. So not necessarily our show, but definitely more YouTube based shows showing up on TV. I think absolutely 100%. You're going to start seeing that. And it makes me sad that the writers can't get a decent wage and, actors can't get a decent wage either. But for writing, I feel like this might be not a. I think if you have a great script, you can bring a bad actor and you could still get a great story out of it. But a bad actor or a great actor can't really
make a horrible script.
Make a horrible script great. Because I have some of my favorite actors that didn't have great scripts and they did fine, but they couldn't pull up that bad script. Like, I think a good script is everything. So I hope the writers get what they want. So.
Yeah, and to answer also, do I think the strike will create, because that's what you're getting at too, is, hey, since they're striking, yeah, I think that will happen too, of course, right? They're going to go to YouTubers. So here's the thing about YouTubers, and again, I always say I'm a minor league D-level YouTuber. I say that not to be humble, but that's just in the ranking of things, right? In YouTube, I mean, there's you got Mr. Beast, and then you keep walking yourself down, and then one day you end up in my, mentioning me at this very long list downward. But here's the interesting thing about this: it is very easy to conceive the fact that a lot of YouTubers, like Marty Schwartz even, look, I don't know much about Access TV. I don't know much about his TV show. I haven't talked to him. I'm good friends with Marty, but this isn't something I haven't talked to him about. But I can tell you that I'm curious to know if where he's going on this TV show actually has more viewers than what he already has. And when I say that is, as YouTubers that I've talked to, everybody from Jared Dines, who was on the cover of Guitar World magazine, which was, being on the cover of Guitar World magazine is like this iconic thing that we all dream of, and I don't even know if we could say we dream about it, but we all understand that it's this, it's the thing. You've done it, right? Like, if you have a friend and you're like, he was on the cover of Guitar World magazine, you're like, oh, that's the deal. But so you guys know some behind the scenes on that. Yeah, Jared Dines was on the cover of Guitar World magazine. That issue, which was actually, I think, one of their better selling issues, was less than 25,000 issues, which is a lot. 25,000 people, guitar players, saw Jared Dines on the cover of Guitar World. But Jared Dines would probably cry in bed sobbing if he got 25,000 views on a video.
Right.
A week. So, I mean, he's probably, his target is at least 250,000, 250,000 minimum views. And I know you can say views versus magazines. I understand all that stuff. But what I'm trying to say is that the irony is what I'm trying to tell you is that most YouTube channels, especially we're not talking about guitar channels, we're talking about Mr. Beast and real people, they're actually getting views way past what TV can get now.
Absolutely.
Way past. But they make way less.
Yes.
So Marty, I don't know this, and I don't want to, say, for sure, because I don't want you to think that I've talked to him and I know this information. But I'm willing to bet
that he's
$20 that Marty gets paid more to do Access TV than he does to get YouTube, but he gets his YouTube content probably reaches a 20 times multiplier than what Access does. I wouldn't be shocked to see that. So at some point, yeah, I think that's going to happen. Because here's the reality. The reality is, I'm just this bald nerd on the internet with, closing up on 250 million views. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's just a crazy number. It doesn't make any sense. So, and I'm the D level. So think about that. So good question. Let's, we hit the 1 hour mark. And we want to hit almost every question. We can't hit every question, but so you know, if you asked a question, we didn't say your name, it's because you have a duplicate question or somebody asked it too. This episode, we're going to, because we want to answer as many questions as possible. If that means 3 episodes, we'll get there. Let's do 1 or 2 more. We'll button up this episode. We'll start with something. I'm trying not to grab a subject that's going to get us too long going, and the subject's not too short. Okay. Okay. Here's a good question. You guys seem to like the store questions a lot. Foxy and Craig wants to know, what would you say is the funniest thing that happened while you had the actual guitar store?
Okay. So, I think it was Christmas time. It wasn't hot outside. I remember that. So it was probably around Christmas time. We were getting a big shipment, and this very outgoing driver comes into the store and says that he's got this shipment,
semi-truck.
It's a huge, like, FedEx. Like, I don't know what the biggest truck is, but it was the biggest semi truck. It was, he had to pull it off of, in pallets and stuff. So he comes in and he's like, I've got this big order for you. And I said, okay. I said, you're going to have to probably bring it through the front. I said, I don't think you can get your truck, and because we had like this alley in the back. So we were kind of at the end of the shopping center. So next to us was the grocery store that obviously, that's a much bigger footprint than our little store. And on the side of our store, and it started going to the back, like it was the side of the shopping center. So, I mean, it was basically essentially this alley behind our store. And so not even like the smaller trucks would even attempt to go back there, because it was tight, and there was electrical boxes, and there was a cell tower, and, it was just a tight fit. And I did not mean to insult this man by any means. But I think he took it as this, like, I challenged him.
Definitely thought you threw down the gauntlet. That's for sure.
So I was like, so I just said, I don't think you can get your truck back there. And then he like leaves.
No.
He goes and he says, I'll see what I'm in the trucker rodeo, which I was like, yeah, there's a trucker rodeo. Very confused. He won it. Oh, he won it. Yeah.
He goes, just so you know, I win the trucker rodeo every year. Remember?
Yeah. So anyhow, he leaves, and then a little while later, we hear this like very aggressive knock on our back door, and he is like so close to our back door, and he got this giant truck back there, and he was just like very intense, very out there. Just he was just like, look at this, woohoo! And I was like, oh my goodness. And then just for years we talked about this guy getting that giant truck where like people in cars didn't like to go. So how he did it, I have no idea. I had no idea that there was a trucker rodeo. I had no idea there was anything even like this existed, but quite amazing, and was a fun thing that happened. And it like, the store was packed at the time. So there was a lot of customers that saw it, and it would keep coming up. And it was just one of those things that like, one of those situations that just kept on giving.
So I just Googled it. I had to. And it says, what is the trucking rodeo? It says the National Truck Driving Championships, the NTDC, is a competition of professional truck drivers hosted each year by the American Trucking Association. So he said he's in this every year, and he's won it. And there's a picture And that's exactly what it looks like. Did you see? We're looking at the picture right now. This picture, right? That looks like the back. Like that's exactly right.
Yeah, so that's what they do is they basically take these giant trucks and get them into the tightest.
Yeah, little spots and do like a backwards
back
parking
in.
and
Yeah,
like little. You see it?
Yeah, it's crazy. So